talk about an individual's state of health, we're not just looking at the physical. We're also looking at the psychological, the mental, the spiritual, and more importantly, the reproductive health. In Africa, where we have found ourselves, the state of reproductive health of individuals have been known to make or break homes. It has had a lot of debilitating effect amongst our family members. And in Nigeria in particular, where we have individuals who are doing so much, contributing their own quota to ensure that the reproductive health of Nigerians remain in tip-top shape. Today, I have found myself in the home of one of such distinguished individuals as I welcome you to another beautiful time on Executive Discourse, coming to you on the network service of the NTA. My name is Ololade Adeniji Adele. My guest on the program today is somebody who has recorded several firsts. He was the one who recorded the very first official test tube baby. He also recorded the very first official set of test tube twins, set of test tube triplets, and quadruplets. Does the name Baby Hannatu mean anything to you? Does it ring a bell at all? Okay, either it does or not. Why don't you come with me as we get to meet my guest on the show today, and you will have so much fun with my discussions. Come along with me.
Hello,
sir. How are you?
Welcome. I'm good.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Welcome to my home.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, for the purpose of our viewers, I'm sure that a lot of people just hear the name Dr. Wada, they hear NISA Premier. They really don't know who Dr. Wada is, aside the gynecologist. So for the purpose of such viewers, can you take us through your early years? Where you were born, schools you attended, your journey through life, and up to today that we see Dr. Wada?
Thank you very much. It's a great opportunity to be able to talk to you. I was born in Kogi State, present Kogi State, when it was Kwara. My parents are late now, Alhaji Halil Wada Ejiga, and my mother, Rakia Wada Salihu. I think that the grace of the Lord will bless their souls. I wouldn't be here if not for them. And I remember them, I still love them as dearly as ever. I was a tiny little boy, grew up in Kogi, attended the Roman Catholic primary school in Dekina. Okay. And oh, what a time it was then. And then I passed the school leaving certificate and then went on to a place called St. Charles College. The primary school was in Roman Catholic Mission School, RCM we used to call it. Then the secondary school a St. Charles, which is another Catholic mission. So why this is important to mention is because so early in life I was mixed, a Muslim, very, very interested in knowing the Quran and memorizing and learning about God that way, attending Catholic schools, both primary and secondary, and my God, it's only these days that I understand how much it has enriched me. So this is important that we had that solid kind of balanced background. So, and then after 3 years in St. Charles, which was a new school in Angpa, still in Kwara State of that time, I was moved to government secondary school, the Kina. And the reason for the movement was because my enlightened brother, Captain Wada, felt, hey, look, this guy looks like a local champion in St. Charles College. Let them move him to where the real guys are.
Let's test him.
Test him. Is it that good? Well, history has it on my side, I think.
That you were that good.
I think I proved him wrong because he thought once you move here and you have all that competition, but it was a good move. It was a wonderful thing. He's a great man. So I then finished from government secondary school, the Kina, of course. Thank God with good grades, and I was admitted to School of Basic Studies at ABU ZARIA. The only thing to say about School of Basic Studies to me was a reawakening. Wow, what a huge city! What compared to the villages
coming from where you were,
and what a mix of people, not just Kwara people, but north, south, east, and west. Huge mix, and so it was exciting. And I was again lucky after the SBS, as we call it, Basico. We got admitted again to the medical school in ZARIA, and that's where the tough times started. Learning about human beings, trying to pass. Your time was no more your time, assignments and all that. So we were able to weather that storm. I became a doctor in 1980, which is I was young then, because by 1980 I was very early 20s. Okay. And I chose to become a gynecologist in that path of medical school. Why? You must ask me.
Yes.
One of our village mothers, when you're in the village, it's not just your mother that's your mother. You eat here, you play here and all that. One of the women that looked after us died while I was in medical school in childbirth. So I was challenged to say to myself, you know what? If I can become a gynecologist, my job will be how to save the lives of women, because this woman was dear to us. I mean, people share, but she shared more. Wow. May her soul rest in peace, as I've always remembered her. So it was clear to me that if doctors could help save women's lives, Dr. Wada was going to be one of them. So that put my career in gynecology not in doubt. If I could, I would, kind of thing. So, and then in trying to train to be that gynecologist, okay, it's a given. If you treat women well, on time, you could save their lives. That's a given, more or less.
Yes.
But there was a group of women that needed more than just
Yes, we
simple.
will come to those group of women that needed more than just. But before you move away from medicine to other things, yes, at that point in time, you decided you want to specialize in gynecology.
Correct.
But why medicine in the very first instance?
Right. I think my childhood had hallmarks of someone who's going to be a doctor. I was nicknamed doctor already in primary school by my colleagues.
Why?
And I think the main reason for them was when an exam or a test, it wasn't an exam then, when a test came, who's that guy far away, right on top? Okay. So to them, there was no choice of career, but that guy had to become a doctor. And that's for them. What about for me? For whatever reason, I remember vividly that every time I read a story to do with medicine in any newspaper in my primary school, I'm not talking of secondary school, I would cut it and put it in my little room. So, why? Only because I liked reading anything to do with health. So there are two sides to the story. One, what's internal to me and my behavior when it came to health issues, and then my classmates and schoolmates who will nickname me doctor just because they thought, what else would this man be if not a doctor? So I think that's a good angle, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so having studied medicine now, you specialized in gynecology, but now fertility treatment.
Okay. Um, I was in Jos, at the Jos University Teaching Hospital, and my teacher, Dr. Eldred Wright, also of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace, took me under his wings, and we were all working together. And later joined us Professor Otubu, who is a very renowned gynecologist. Those were the two people that trained me in Jos. And they were interested in women who couldn't have babies. And we knew that there was more in the outer world that was on offer. Test tube babies had come in Cambridge and Manchester, and I was about to go to England. And I prayed, I actually prayed, oh Lord, we have so many women here in Jos whose treatment had stunted. We couldn't go beyond a certain barrier because we didn't have the facilities to offer them this treatment. And so that prayer eventually was answered, very almost like simply, effortlessly, after completing the gynecology studies there in very nice hospitals in England. And so I wanted to now go into this IVF. The first interview I got a job, the second interview I got a job, I had to make a choice.
Wow.
Gratitude to the Lord, not to a human being. But whatever was part of me in my childhood was following me, even to that place, that people wanted me to work with them or work for them. And so it wasn't difficult. And I think that underlines the reality about me. I prayed in Nigeria before going to England. The way was opened by the Lord. When I now rode a high horse in England as a consultant, would I climb down that horse and come home to help these women in Jos that I remember their pains and everything about them and the dead end they were, back to the world situation they were in? Not them, but their type, because those ones would have aged out. So it was a choice between taking the mission back home versus looking after myself in the wider outer world of lack of want, lack of threat, lack of, you know your tomorrow more or less. I chose home. And that's why you hear Dr. Wada, Dr. Wada, Dr. Wada today. He wasn't home for any other thing but what the Lord had allowed to enter my brain. I must bring it home and download it onto more Nigerians to help the women I left in Jos. And oh my God, is it not helping women all over the country now?
It is helping women all over. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now the field of fertility treatment, that's that area of specialization. Like it or not, just as you've also alluded to, infertility is a major problem in Nigeria, especially for the women folk. Now, taking a look at when you brought back your knowledge and experience from the UK to Nigeria, from then till now, what milestones have we recorded? How far have we gone in this battle against infertility?
Well, today there is light everywhere. Today there is hope everywhere. And I'm so grateful to God to be part of all that. When I came back in 1994 with this sense of mission, things were more difficult. I was at Gwagbalada, and it was a struggle. Dr. Wada is not a private practitioner. I've been issued. I was on the healthcare system in England. I came home because I wanted the public sector to have a public sector system that we can train more people to at least understand fertility and infertility and go out to help. So I was at Gwagbalada, but the story is not that easy. When you want to do something in the government system of those days, it was a struggle, bureaucracy and, oh no, take your time. Not for guys from England who wanted things now. So after a while, after 18 months, I now decided that it's either I go back to England, God forbid, or I stay home and help the people I actually came to help in the first place. If the public sector option was not available,
maybe you should try the private
go for me, it's available. This is the private sector. And that's the whole reason why I ever sat in a place saying, look, are you trying to have a baby? I know I can help you. The first two couples that came to meet me in that situation, pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a word. It's a word coming from heaven. Don't go anywhere. Stay home and help your people. And that's why I'm still here till today. Talking of historic feats, sure, baby AHMADU by any definition is a feat, especially where God gave her to us in Gwagwalada. Exactly. It's not the most modern city. It does not compare to Manchester or Cambridge in any way, whether all the amenities or whatever. But I must recognize the professors who brought the, the in vitro fertilization technology to Nigeria. Two names that must never be forgotten by the conscience of Nigerians and of the medical world. Professor Osatogewa Osage, Professor Ashiru. Without them, I probably would not have heard of IVF to go to pray, to go and learn it and bring it home. They've also had their successes, maybe not as celebrated as AHMADU because of the circumstances under which they succeeded. Yes. But yes, I thank God for what he has used me to do. He's opened up the science. He's torn all the barriers on it. And you learn, you take it forward. You do better than me, please. I beg, because I cannot be best in everything. So those people must be remembered. They must be honored in this country all the time. Yes, AHMADU came. This was the most emotive thing. Yes. And the government of Sani Abacha, actually, may so rest in peace, and Sam Moma, may so rest in peace, they took it up because then they were like, technology is power. And here's a young man in Gwagwalada who's brought some technology home. They then helped to propagate the story of AHMADU. And from then came twins, not far, because I started hearing, oh, don't do IVF because it's only girls you get and you will never have twins. So the next set was twins, boy and girl. So I'm like, what next are they going to say? All sorts, you know. But we stood the grounds, and then, of course, triplets came. Those were the days when a woman has triplets, we will be celebrating. Yes. And I will never forget our first triplets, because that was the day some people decided to, make me feel bad for coming home. But, the triplet story was a good story then, so I'm like, I wish they knew what the good news is today. But again, you don't expect someone like me to sit here with what is behind me without the knocks and so it was natural. Having said that, talking of higher order births, today is not an acceptable consequence of IVF. It's not. In the olden days, you had twins, you have triplets, we are clapping. Today, we don't even want to hear twins, never mind triplets. So I think the listeners need to be aware. What was celebrated before doesn't have to be celebrated now. The reason is those twin pregnancies are difficult pregnancies. Triplet pregnancies even more difficult, not to talk of quadruplets, and so on. So we try to avoid them. The other thing we did that marked us out is the achievement of a frozen embryo baby. Nobody had done that before us. That we froze embryos for a couple who had circumstances that didn't allow them to have their fresh embryos put together. And then 4 months or so later, they came back and we thawed out the frozen embryo, and implanted, and the first baby named after me was born. It was, of course, successful. The first baby from frozen embryos was born. This was 2001, and the baby's name is Ibrahim. So just to make the point. So many other things have come. I knew that the test tube baby technology can help couples who are both AS and they're afraid of having sickle cell SS babies. So I've been pursuing that since 2005. But the technology domesticated with us in Abuja here, I think about 3-4 years ago only. Wow. So you can imagine how much sweat. Before then, we would take their sample of their embryos and send abroad. I was always working. How can this thing come to the soil of Nigeria? Well, we've gone beyond that now. Many diseases that you're afraid you might carry to your child, they can be diagnosed in Abuja at embryo level, and so your pregnancy will not be affected. Again, a first. Again, a first. Yes. There is no group in this country at this moment, as we are speaking, who can say, I will biopsy an embryo, take it to a lab in Nigeria, test, and give you the report. But
to God be the glory.
We are doing it.
That's a major feat, I must say, especially that of the sickle cell, the challenge of the
It's
sickle
an
cell.
African thing.
Yes.
So there's more discoveries on it that we are pursuing also. Hopefully we can cross that before we cross over to the great beyond. I don't know. What God has allowed me to do today, if the angels come, I'm saying to them, thank you, God bless you for the time you've given me. But if they give me more, I will be grateful more.
There is no gainsaying that you have achieved milestones in the area of fertilization in Nigeria. I mean, we cannot overemphasize what you have been able to bring to the table. But I also know that being who we are, the society we have found ourselves, several challenges abound to the success or otherwise of in vitro fertilization in Nigeria. I know that one of such is the myth that surrounds in vitro fertilization on its own. Take us through some of these challenges, because I know you can't exhaust everything.
Thank you so much. I think the key stigma or myth is that, hey, look, a baby born from the test tube baby, the way they understand, is going to be artificial. It's not real.
Is the baby real?
And the baby is going to be put in a test tube and you come and say, oh, he's growing well after 6 months, 7 months. That myth is totally wrong. The listeners need to know, A, that it's a mixture of the sperm of the husband and the egg of the wife made by God, each of them. We are just people bringing them together. More like you will introduce a couple, man and woman, say, look, may God make you fall in love. That's what we are doing to the sperm and the egg. And they are falling in love or becoming an embryo or the basis of life is totally God dependent, not human dependent. The continuation of the life of that baby, they stay in the scientist's hands for 2 days, maximum 5 days, good enough to distinguish what seed is good or not good, to plant back into the womb of the mother. And again, all the doctor does is transport into the womb of the mother, and then you're done. Almost like these people, the farmer that plants a seed in the soil, he has to go, he cannot determine nothing after that. He can't say, be this or be that. So the incubation of that baby is actually in the mother's womb by the angels and by the Lord Almighty. And it is not the doctor. So we can't be at fault. In other words, the chance that the baby is going to be born totally normal, the chance that the baby is going to be very intelligent, the chance that the pregnancy is good, all of that, if you compare IVF babies with naturally conceived babies, there is no difference. The main issue is that when you put more seeds in a woman, she has a higher risk of twins or triplets, as you've been saying. Yeah, that's all, multiple births. And that carries its own issues, which is why I'm saying is not in the vogue now anymore. It used to be. So other than that, it is the myth of infertility that I think IVF has most destroyed. It is a woman's problem. My wife can't get pregnant. And so the coming of IVF and people seeing the reality as working, so it's both men and women that can be affected. These problems can be solved. So more women are coming forward for fertility treatments now than before. Yeah. So that's a good thing. So none of the myths is surviving. They are all falling apart. A baby that is an embryo that is frozen, maybe for years, and now brought back to life and put in a woman's womb, is that going to be normal? Answer is yes. It doesn't carry any higher chance of abnormality. By the way, the first baby in our own hands, AHMADU, finished with first class degree, and many outside the country. So many that I'm hearing, oh, my child is first in school, my child, I'm grateful to God. And I have no reason as a practitioner to doubt the naturalness of all IVF babies.
In the area of technological advancements, how have we fared so far? Considering the fact that, okay, the issue of sickle cell, for instance, perhaps you're the only one who's able to do that yet in Nigeria. So how have we fared so far?
I think that the potentials of Nigeria is so vast and so possible that I think is an elephant that is taking a step slowly. Otherwise, if we could do what I've said, the sickle cell selection process is a zenith of technology. And who are the people doing it? Nigerians now. And what resources have they amassed to do it? Nothing, more or less. So if you look at who we are as a nation and what the possibilities are, I dare say it won't be long before we hit the moon. Wow. If only we have faith. If only we have faith in ourselves, I mean, not just wake up and say, oh, this table is imported, that one is imported. Yes. Faith means, what can we do for ourselves? And that is where the disconnect is. So it's easier and cheaper to get something, buy something and move on with your life rather than the back-breaking work. This work we did was from 2005.
Yeah, so you said.
We brought all sorts of people in to help and sometimes crash and then we pick ourselves up again. Until now it's so solid, it's like the back of the hand. And I salute the scientists that are doing it in this country. If others then believe in ourselves, they wouldn't still be sending samples out of the country. Yes. More samples are leaving Nigeria for this sickle cell test than come to us because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't have faith. Why him? Why not me? White people don't do that.
They will celebrate themselves.
They will surround themselves and say, how did you do it? I want to learn and do it better than you. Okay, come to my lab. I'll train you. And then you go. If you are better than him, he's very happy, like I'm doing. So I have tried my best to set an example in that light and say to Nigerians that, look, I have been training for as long as I overcame all the Nigerian problems against that technology. I've not stopped. Even to the extent that we have a formal training program for the West African College of Surgeons. These are the ones producing most of the gynecologists for West Africa. And a training program under their collaboration that produces certified fertility experts and IVF experts under yours truly's watch. What an honor. Instead of saying, lock the door, nobody comes near here, we've opened it. That's why the rest of the world did it. That's how they have, they've opened up. Yes, I'm not alone in the country, but we are few who have the courage to say, what I know, I must share. Very few. Because they're looking, not that life is a short period, they think it's finite, and what you keep is for you and your family. False. It's what you give that's even more for you and your family. That's my belief. So
because it leaves after you.
I want to appeal to us, 200 million of us. There is nothing, there's no mountain we can't climb. When they sang that, no mountain high enough, no valley deep enough, it's about us. And I want leadership to set the example, senior people to set the example. Nigeria can, Africa can. That's my motto in life. Nigeria can, Africa can. And when I say Africa can, I'm talking of people with my kind of skin color.
With black skin.
Believe in yourselves. Believe you can do it. At Gwagwalada, if test tube babies can be made in Gwagwalada, anything can be made in Nigeria.
Yes, anything can be done.
Anything can be done in Nigeria.
Now, infertility, with all that you've been able to achieve, the milestones you've recorded, infertility is still a major issue in Nigeria. And I keep wondering, what is it about infertility? Because even though I might not have the exact statistics, but hardly will you put 10 couples together and not find one that is dealing with infertility, either from the woman or from the man, or just natural like that. And I'm wondering, what is it about infertility? Why do we have such a high rate of infertility in Nigeria?
One of the reasons, and I can put the statistics for you, it varies from one part to the other, one study to the other. On average, 1 out of 6 couples in this country can't have a baby when they want to have one. So that's like almost 20%. Yeah, it's high because the world average is only 10%. So there's a natural fertility issue. Why? People are coming out of their shadows now to the fore to say, help me, because I've seen you help that couple, you help that one. Unlike before, when we all sat in the home doing vigils, making all sorts of confessions and all that, we've passed that stage now. So people are ready to confront it because there's a solution, and they are seeing solutions in society. So it gives that false impression that suddenly everybody is infertile. Having said that, our infertility issues are a little bit higher than what I saw in England when I was working there. And the reasons are because we are not so protected against sexually transmitted diseases, some. We are not protected against fibroids. We are also suddenly delaying fertility, yeah, because you must go to school. Yes. Any child born now, the parents will expect a certain standard of you. And so these things are all working together. The effects of on both men and women. Please, people, it takes two to tango. When you're talking of STIs or sexually transmitted infections, it's not just the woman. It can affect the man as much as it can affect the woman. So I think these are some of the reasons that I think it seems we have a higher rate of people who are suffering from infertility. Some of the things that prevent infertility, we don't have the options of using them. One of the key things is you cannot be a child of 15 or 16 in England, for example, without a thorough schooling about sexual reproductive health. Protect yourself. So to them, using protection is ABC, is everywhere. But here we connote it and say, look, say no, but you also know not many people can say no in reality. We must cover for them. Either you say no or you must protect yourself. I'm talking as a doctor, I'm not a priest here. Because I've seen the consequences of unwanted pregnancies, infections of all sorts, and this. And nobody deserves that, because it can cause problems, you know.
Later in life.
You don't find that abroad, because they are open with their parents, and it is allowed to discuss these things. All right?
Now, still talking infertility and fertility treatment here. Like it or not, as available as it has become, how accessible is it in terms of naira and kobo? We know that infertility treatments, in vitro fertilization is quite expensive.
I think this is the most important question today. What did I say? I came home to make public IVF, public fertility, so that it can spread like wildfire. I told you what stunted it and why my dreams had to be realized the way it was through private effort. So I crossed over from Gwagwalada to the National Hospital because Gwagwalada wouldn't work at that time. And that was in fact, that was the reason I gave them at the interview. I can do this for the country. I shed tears when the first IVF baby was born at the National Hospital. Okay. We have a live birth under my watch there. But it came too late, more or less, because this guy came to Nigeria in 1994. The first baby from IVF in a public sector was born 2007. Add it.
13 years.
Where would you do that in this world, for God's sake? I shed tears. I think I did the scan and I said, for me, my dream has been realized. I didn't come here to make money from anyone. I came to help. And everyone close to me understands that this guy is not a businessman. It's just that how else could I have achieved and stayed back home if not what I did? So no country that I know that wants to achieve progress can bring a brain home. 1994. Okay, baby Hannatu was born 98, this and that. Many, many children have been born then. The Nigerian wouldn't even want it in government anymore. But I persevered. But do you know, I will tell you a secret today. Not only was I nearly killed for being bold to break the jinx like that and help those who you're talking about who cannot afford, but I was taken to the security agencies. He's corrupt. He's the most corrupt Nigerian on earth. I'm like, excuse me? That's where I got my OON from. Because the EFCC, the, what do you call it, SSS and all that, I was like, it's not me you're looking at, it can't be me. But when they found out that this is another level of a human being, they said, look, I guess they then said, this guy deserves to be honored. If not, I'm not a politician. I don't pray to be one. How did I get the OON if not
yes, because
for
you've
the
broken
sweat?
barriers.
That's right. We were thoroughly investigated. So this man has his own IVF unit. It's the only IVF unit in the northern part of Nigeria. He says no, he must put the technology in a national hospital to benefit more people, and you want to kill him and bring him down? Why? How? How can we all progress if we think like that? I thank the Almighty God that saved me with my life and saved me from disgrace in the security agencies, and I praise them for standing by the truth. They had searched it and said, no, we are not going to be biased. This is the reality. I guess it's them that said to Chief Obasanjo, this man deserves to be honored as a Nigerian. Why am I saying this to you? We must stop. We must change our ways. We must feel for our national. Nobody, Cameroonians won't come here to help you, nor any other nationality. Then one of you came, gave his comfort and everything, and came here saying, he wants to help, innocently. And you're plotting behind how to kill him, how to get him down. Who to praise but the Lord? I would be dead by now from the consequences of wanting to say, because I don't know their exact reason for wanting to take my life, but they came for it.
Wow.
Oh yes, they did.
Wow.
But thank God, you know.
So what you're saying in essence is, in vitro fertilization can be done cheaper and made more accessible.
Absolutely, and the key is when you put it in public, because if you put it in private, you can't buy aspirin for 10 naira and say you want to sell it for 5. You need government subsidy for that. You can't pay the NEPA bill of 1,000 and say, no, I'm going to charge 5. You will crash. You will not help the people. And that's the only reason why private sector is more expensive than public sector. What comes out of your pocket is subsidized. It's not cheaper. Let's not deceive ourselves that government can do it cheaper. Government can do it in a subsidized way. But our people need to even learn that. Yeah? So we decided that it must be in the government first, because I realized it is an expensive bait. Not everybody can afford it. So yes, government. And then, okay, the government too has its issues, bureaucracy, attitude and all that. I then championed the public-private sector. Okay. I'm proud to say at least Garki Hospital is here for all to see. The IVF there is almost a third cheaper than it is in my hands at NISA, because NISA wants to say to those who want to go far to go and do this, no, everything you want to get in London is here.
It's here, so you can come here.
That's that, and to make it like that, you don't need a huge crowd or nowhere to sit and all that. So we cannot ignore those who must go out and the loss in the economy to that. So we must provide for them, and I'm happy that I'm the one human being in this country now, private, IVF, fertility, public, IVF, fertility, and then public-private IVF, fertility, all successful. Glory be to the God.
Glory be to God. And I'll want to take you along the lines of that particular conversation, because I know that you champion medical tourism. Just as you mentioned a few minutes ago, that not taking away the fact that we know there are some Nigerians who would want to go out of the country for this treatment. But in terms of medical tourism, I'm sure that you're not just being microscopic about it. You're not being myopic in looking at just Nigerians. Do we have what it takes to offer in vitro fertilization as a form of medical tourism to other nationals who might want to come into Nigeria?
Yes, I think that's one arm that Nigeria has succeeded, at least under my watch.
Okay.
A lot of people come from England. I was trying to get you the figure. A lot come from Europe to come and do their IVF in Nigeria. Most of them are Nigerian citizens, but quite a few are foreign nationals who are living in those climes. Yes. Maybe they are Egyptians, maybe they are Ethiopians, maybe they are other, mixed. And even the expatriate community here, they have confidence in what we're doing, because they follow too. So Nigeria has broken the band in terms of attracting people from outside the country to come and do IVF on her soil.
And you have done that at NISA Premier.
Oh God, I'm trying to wonder how long ago, 2001, 2002, that it started as a growing thing. COVID now collapsed it, but it's picking up again. We are getting calls almost every day from people in Europe and all that. They gladly come, but we are celebrating twins. I even signed a congratulatory letter for twins in England. Oh. You know, honestly, this is good news, that the development of a certain technology in this country can give people confidence. Say, I'm going back home and I'm telling my friends to go to Nigeria. And we are helped by the fact that our currency too has lost some strength. Yeah. So we are more competitive than them doing it where they are. So people are coming on medical tourism to us for not just fertility, but other reasons associated generally with fertility.
All right, Dr. Ibrahim Wada, I know that we can go on and on with this conversation because fertility treatment is something that you're very passionate about. And I know that, yes, you have worked with quite a lot of people to achieve what you've been able to today. So I want you to hold on, because we need to get to meet one or two people that you have worked with. This journey has not just been yours alone. Some people have contributed in one way or the other. So let's get to meet one or two of such people. Don't you think so?
I think so.
Dr. Wada, I started with him, like I said, 20 years ago. And with this years of service with him, honestly, we've lost count of the babies that came through Dr. Wada. I see him as God sent, because he has brought smiles to so many couples in Nigeria. And like I said, he's very selfless in everything he does. He put in everything, he sacrifices everything, not really expecting much of a profit. That's the kind of person I see Dr. Wada to be.
I would describe him as somebody who is humble. In fact, his humility is to a fault. He brings himself to the level of everyone. If he were here, you wouldn't know this is the person if you never knew him before. He interacts with everybody that comes his way in a very seamless manner. You wouldn't know this is the boss, as it sounds. So he's a very humble person. He is very passionate with his job. He likes helping people generally in the society. And ordinarily, when you hear of help, you would think that he only helps only people who may not be able to afford things, including people who are able to afford. We've seen him stretch his hand of assistance, and he is that good with everybody. He doesn't segregate. He doesn't differentiate people by their race, by their religion, by whatsoever thing that may cause that may serve as dividing lines. No, he's just playing with everybody all through.
Describing Dr. Ibrahim Wada is kind of difficult because I've known him in all aspects for over 9 years now. But most importantly, he's a disciplinarian, he's a teacher, and he's a mentor.
Yes, having met some of Dr. Ibrahim Wada's staff, colleagues in the industry, it's time for us now to continue our conversation on Executive Discourse. I can't overemphasize, the milestones that you have achieved in this area of medicine. But I wonder, when a lot of work has gone into all of this, a lot of your time has been devoted to this, like it or not. So definitely some things will have suffered. In all that you have been able to do, how much time have you been able to devote to the home front? Yes. I was waiting for that.
Very important. First of all, I want to appreciate my wife, whom I love very dearly, who has, in the days of the struggle, because it was a real struggle, in the days of the struggle, I used to nickname her, "You are the only married spinster that I know." Wow. And she took me in. She's an exceptional human being. I love her dearly. And my kids too, I think she helped to cushion the fact that they can wake up in the morning, Daddy is not here, and they go to bed at night, Daddy is still not here. I also sympathize particularly with my wife, because there was one particular day, I left home at 2 o'clock in the morning to work on the IVF project.
2
a.m.
Not p.m.
No, 2 a.m. I needed to be at work. And then, because there were no automatic technologies as we have now. Okay. Everything was manual. Baby Hanatu was born on a manual technology, more or less. Anyway, so she brought my breakfast and said to me, "Please, you must eat." And I said, "Don't worry, I will eat, don't worry. The breakfast was where she brought my, still untouched, and she brought the lunch, took the breakfast and said, look, I'm begging you, you must eat. And then she brought the dinner. I made the lunch there, and she still stood her grounds in love and support. I don't think I would be near here when, you know, if she wasn't my pillar. Said in my book called The Second Chance, I called her the steel behind my back. She has then been able to get the kids together, and they love their father, and we are good. Apart from that, I used to maximize any free time that I knew this would not come so easily. So I used to play as much as I could with them, guide them as much as I could. So I think that I'm a lucky family man in that sense. There are other sides of not so lucky, but I don't want to talk about that now.
Yes. Now, looking at, even though sometimes, a lot of times you were not available, but I'm sure that your children know, they have a clear idea and a clear picture of what you're trying to do, not just for the family, but for Nigeria.
Yes.
Is any one of them taking along the medical lines, towing the medical lines?
Well, my first daughter is a doctor, and I'm so happy because she finished her medical school abroad in the UAE. And what's so important is that my wife and I went for her graduation in Ajman, UAE, and my daughter was the best graduating student, and we didn't know.
Wow.
She didn't tell us.
Tell you.
She wanted to surprise us, according to her. Like, so when they gave us the brochure and the best student is Aisha Wada, and I'm like, excuse me? I asked my wife, could this be our own? She didn't tell us anything. But we're like, can there be two Aisha Wadas in a Gulf Medical University in the UAE? So again, she chose it by herself, because if I had my way, I'm not going to ask any child to do what I have done. It was difficult. It wasn't, and it narrows your life to calls. If you check that phone now, there'll be at least 4 or 5 calls about people say, my daughter is on admission here, my son is this, my dad is that. So it's a life of sacrifice if you're a true doctor and you follow the rules of being a doctor. I call it, in our kind of case, we were brought up to be doctors, doctor, the way you have soldiers, soldier.
Is she a gynecologist?
She's good about
Is
that.
she specialized in gynae?
I don't think she would dare, she wouldn't be bold enough to go there, because she would probably be like expecting to do more than what I've done.
Exactly.
She has motherhood and all sorts of things.
To deal with.
So she's smart. And
Okay.
she's not doing that.
Well, I know that you're a man who's very proud of your family and, well, the little time you're able to spend with them. Well, you have given us your own take on how you make good use of the little time you get to spend with your family. I think we should meet the members of your family.
Please do.
I really want to meet your wife.
Please.
Because I'm sure that she'll have so much to tell me.
I hope good things.
Well, what did you call her? The steel behind your back.
Yes.
Okay. She brought breakfast. Lunch met breakfast. Dinner met lunch. I'm sure that she will have a lot to tell me, and the kids too. So it's important that we meet the members of your family.
He's a good person. The man I married is much different from the guy that I live with today. The man I married was much younger, so much energy. It was unbelievable. To think that we've been together for this long. And I think, I don't want to say he's a fun person, because it would not be fair to the profession. He's, before anything else, he's a doctor. You could be sitting down 1 minute and a call comes in and it's, sorry, I have to go. So that's the kind of person that I know it's the work first. It's, I think for a lot of people, medicine, you would say, oh, their job sometimes is a calling. For him, I think medicine is a calling. And I think that's the one thing I know he does well. One thing that I know he enjoys, I don't know how anyone will enjoy being a medical doctor, but I know my husband enjoys being a doctor. So in a nutshell, I think he is a doctor before anything else. I think it's like with any relationship that you would have ups and downs. And after 30 years, if I tell you it's been all good, of course I'll be lying to you, which is what life is. And for him, I think I don't know which one to pinpoint. There's been lots of ups, there's been lots of downs, and I think what makes the person at the end of the day is how you survive everything together. When the ups come, you take it and enjoy it. When the down comes, you also take it out, maybe not enjoy it, but somehow find a way to live through it.
To be honest, it wasn't easy not having him around. Although the truth is that as children, you don't really notice things like that. You notice it maybe in retrospect after you grow up that, oh, there are some experiences you may have missed out on. However, especially being the first, and I was there when he really, really had no time. I can tell you that looking back, what I pick out is that despite not having time with us, every single moment he was able to be with us, he took chance of that. For example, there was no time he was free that he wouldn't take us out. He would vocalize, I need to spend time with my children, so we would know that he wanted to be with us.
My father is a hard-working person. He loves doing what he does, and he's a wonderful father.
It's very interesting. He's a doctor, so I don't get to see him very much, but when he's here, I really like it. I like his company.
Okay, we've heard from Madame, and honestly, I don't envy her. I don't. But, well, she has accepted it because this is the man she loves, and she's stuck with him, like it or not. All right, Dr. Ibrahim Wada, apart from all that you do, how do you find time to relax?
Well, man must not live by bread alone, so I play golf.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure you don't live by medicine alone?
I try to dilute it. I can be classed. Most of my friends know me with golf. My family know me with golf. I love the exercise, and that also buys me time, because you can all be so condensed in work. So I play golf a lot, and I so love the sport. I play chess too with one lawyer who is a friend of mine. So it's like the doctor's brain knocking a lawyer's brain, and he beats me sometimes. I beat him too. So Peter, wherever you are, if you hear this, just my next game with you, I'm going to win. So, so I spend that kind of time. I do go out traveling. I love discoveries, if you like, and also if I must watch TV or not cinema or internet. Mainly, you're talking of the moon. You're talking of Jupiter. You're talking of the universe. They excite me. So I want to know more and more about God, because no one could do all this without a power that we cannot even begin to understand. So I go into the cosmos a lot to find the reason why we are here and what our future destiny will be. So those are the kind of things that I get carried away with: golf, travel, a lot of research into the unknown.
Now, as we begin to round off this discussion, I'm wondering, what should we be expecting? What more should we look forward to from Dr. Ibrahim Wada? Because I know that you're a man who's never tired.
Correct.
You're always willing and ready to break barriers.
Yes.
So,
the next one is a prayer.
Whisper something to me?
The next one actually is a prayer. If the Lord allows me to do that, I'd have completed my mission by my description in this world. People who get pregnant, who carry a risk of sickle cell anemia, what can you do to treat the child before it's born so that it doesn't suffer all this crisis and low blood level and all sorts of pain and early death and so on? It can be done. It's been done, but it has to be done in Africa. So if my motto, Nigeria can, Africa can, will carry on, that's what I'm begging God to let me try to achieve.
If we don't do it, nobody will do it for us. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim Wada. I mean, we've gotten so carried away with this conversation. Nighttime is falling upon us.
Thank you.
But I mean, I have thoroughly enjoyed myself
Same here.
chatting with you today.
Same here. Same here. Thank you.
If we don't do it, nobody will do it for us. That is the message from my guest today, Dr. Ibrahim Wada, OON, consultant, specialist in the area of gynecology and obstetrics. He is a man, I will say again, who has recorded several feats in this area. And the sky is just the stepping stone, because it's promised us that God, sparing his life, he will do so much more for Nigeria and for the African continent. That's the size of our package today on Executive Discuss on the network service of the NTA. I remain Ololade Adiniji Adele as I urge you to please join us again, same time next week. Bye-bye.